So, welcome to another episode of Deep Threat Sports. I'm David Vega. On the other mic, we have Colin Herzog once again. So, today we're going to talk a couple things for you guys today. It's really exciting stuff. So, first, I'm just head it over to Colin, see how everything's going on his end, and we'll kind of get started there.
Man, Dave, I'm doing great, man. I've been chomping at the bit to get back in here with you since we did this the first time. It was a lot of fun. Felt like we did great. We got to learn a lot still here, so we're gonna kind of laugh at the imperfections here. I got my mustache trimmed up for you. Nobody decided to tell me that was a little offset here. I'm surprised my wife didn't tell me. I'm kind of surprised you didn't kick it over to me last episode. And hey, man, before we get this going, why don't you go hit the trimmer real quick? But I got that straightened away now. Had some buddies make fun of me. It's all good fun, man. We laugh at that kind of stuff here. We're nothing professional. So I'm just really excited to be back here with you, man. I love doing this with you. We appreciate all the support. Things have been going well. Got a lot of good feedback. We're trying to work on some things, and we look to really get better for you here. So just happy to do this again with you, Dave.
Absolutely. I feel the same way about pretty much everything, especially the first couple people that have watched our first episode. So you guys have started with us, and hopefully you continue with us. So today's episode is going to be part one of our top 38 power rankings. So today we're just going to hit 38 through 20. So I'm going to kick it over to Colin, and he's going to explain what the power ratings were because this is not similar to the top 25. You may see some teams up here that you didn't expect to see, or somebody that you kind of expected to see, but maybe in a little bit better position. And Colin's going to kind of talk about why these rankings came about to be, and then we're going to kind of highlight through some teams, talk about why they are where they are, and then go from there.
Yeah, so the top 38 ratings, I'll explain. We did 38 teams for a reason. 38 being, we think Liberty is the 38th power-rated team in the country. And what that means is we also think that Liberty at 38 does get that 12 seed in the 12-team playoff this season. We do think they will prevail as the group of five team to go ahead and wrap that spot up. But I'll kind of explain what the ratings part is a little bit. So we call it ratings, not rankings in this section, because ratings, we're kind of putting them all in a neutral field. We're just going to go talent versus talent, all things equal. If this team's higher than this team, we think the higher ranked team can beat the lower ranked team. If Liberty's 38 and Boise State's 37, spoiler alert, that's what we have. We think Boise State's the better team, but not necessarily going to be the higher ranked team at the end of the season. At that situation with rankings, you're going to take schedule, wins, losses into consideration. Here, straight up, neutral field, they're going to get after it. Where do we think they go? We're about to tell you.
At number 38, we got Liberty. So I'm going to shoot it over to Colin. He's going to talk, why is Liberty the last spot? Why did they deserve it over any of these honorable mentions?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said a couple of times here, spoiler alert, Liberty is in the 12th spot in the playoffs for us. We are going to talk playoffs down the road with you guys and kind of what we think the full picture is going to look like. But here, just keeping it brief, Liberty doesn't play another team on this list. Also, kind of why we think they slide in there a little bit. Liberty's a great team, man. They're coached by Jamie Chadwell. This is year 2 of him in this project. They got a lot of NIL money, especially compared to some of these other G5 schools. A lot of talent. They're strong in the trenches. A lot of things that some of these G5 schools don't necessarily have. Liberty's also returning Caden Salter at quarterback. He's a junior. He's a damn good quarterback, man. 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last year. He's going to take care of the ball. He's going to push it down the field for you, but don't expect him to turn the ball over a lot. He will protect it. I think at the beginning he did kind of peak at the transfer portal a little bit, maybe even entered it. I'm not confident with that. Maybe withdrew his name, but Liberty was able to hold on to him. They did bring in some transfers around him. They are looking to make a run at this thing, man, and I think they are serious contenders for the G5 spot. I don't necessarily think they're going to get in there and, bang with the top 10, top 12, top 15 teams necessarily. There is a reason we have them at 38, but I do look to see them make some noise this season.
All right. I wasn't sure, but after kind of what I'm hearing from you and looking at the stats, really, they make sense at 38, and they make sense why they left everybody else out of and put them into the honorable mentions. So next, we're going to hit number 37, Boise State. Tell us about Boise State.
Yeah, so to talk about that playoff scenario a little bit, we have kind of already alluded to the fact that we do think Boise State's the better team on field. But yeah, their schedule is going to look tough. They play teams like Oregon, Oregon State, Wyoming. Those are no easy opponents for Boise State. They probably will trip up a little bit. Kind of what we don't think Liberty's going to do, but they do have a second-team All-American running back and Ashton Jeanty at running back. They also brought in Malachi Nelson from USC, was a former blue chipper. Look for them two to be a dangerous threat together. I do think them two right there, especially Ashton Jeanty at running back, I do think that's why I gave them that edge over Boise or over Liberty, but I just don't think they get the job done. So that's why I have them where I have them. Spencer Danielson also was promoted to full-time head coach in December last year after being the interim. Look for this team to be salty, make some noise. They are going to give these tougher opponents on their schedule a hard game, and you never know how this shakes out. Maybe this does shake out to an 11-1, 12-0 season for them. They do have some firepower on that offense to make some noise.
Okay, so we like to talk odds sometimes up here. We talk about odds, and we'll even have episodes just about odds. So looking at Oregon, Oregon State, and Wyoming playing Boise State, what do you think are the realistic possibilities, or give us the odds that Boise State wins both Oregon State, and Wyoming? Like, what are the realistic odds of that really even happening?
Dave, honestly, 0%. Flat out 0%. I think they can get Oregon State. I think they can get Wyoming. I do think they are just as talented, if not more talented, hence why they're on this list, right? I do think they can get those teams. I believe they play Wyoming at Wyoming. Very, very, very tough place to play. Boise State's the more talented team, but that's a really hard place to play. Oregon, no shot. Let's just be honest here. Let's keep it real. Oregon, 0% chance. Oregon out-talents them at every position. There's nobody that can fight with Oregon in the trenches on Boise State. There's nobody that can stop the firepower from Oregon's offense. No shot here, Dave.
All right. So with that, we're going to hit UCF at number 36. So remember, KJ Jefferson just came over from Arkansas. So how's he going to do here? I mean, tell us what KJ Jefferson coming over means. Kind of like, is he going to make a big splash, or is it just going to be kind of one of those things where it's one of those big transfers over, and it doesn't pan out, kind of like Tate Martell did on quite a couple of teams actually. So tell us about that. Do you think he's going to work well at UCF? And we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, KJ Jefferson, like you said, does come over from Arkansas. Had a successful career at Arkansas, man. Guy was hard-nosed, wanted to win, fought hard for that team. He took an absolute beating behind some of those offensive lines that they had. I mean, the guy took a beating, got up, gave that team a chance when they really didn't have a chance. I really do look to see him improve here at UCF. Going to be behind a pretty good team. He's going to be paired up with the stud running back and RJ Harvey. Took a massive leap last year, 1,200 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns. They got a veteran offensive line to go with that. That is huge for these two. Keep KJ Jefferson upright. He will do good things for you. And, I really do look for them to be a pretty competitive team in this Big 12. They're really not that far off on talent in any situation or any position. So I do think that they can make some noise here and rattle some cages. I do look for a pretty good season from them. That defense did give up a ton of yards last year, though, ranking down there close in the 80s in that team defense. So they have to really wrap that up and improve that there to make their way up this list.
All right. So another one that I'm really curious about is SMU at number 35. So SMU had a great year last year. But again, it's the first year in the ACC. You're in a new conference. You're playing different opponents. You've never been to these places before, probably. I mean, there might be 2 or 3 games where you've actually played at these different away fields. So what is that going to look like for SMU? Do you think they continue doing well? Do you think they, kind of hit ACC football and say, oh, I don't know if we were meant to be here, where do you see that going from there?
Yeah, for me, I think Rhett Lashley has that program really going in the right direction, especially coming into this conference. Traditionally, I feel like for the most part, stepping up from a G5 to a Power 4, which used to be Power 5, rest in peace, Pac-12 for the most part, stepping up a conference level like this, traditionally, I feel like does not go well. But SMU's talented, man. They were one of the most talented teams in the G5 last year. They were an 11-win team last year. There is that concern of them holding up to that Power 4 schedule week in and week out. They had a very stout defense last year, turning quite a few starters, really looking to build off of that and get this thing going right away in the ACC. I think they can make some noise there. I don't want anybody to write them off necessarily. They have a quite a few second team transfers or second year transfers, I should say. Sorry, and I feel like that second year transfer thing is huge. You look at the success a lot of these teams have when they do get these guys that have transferred in and they're going in their second season. They know the culture, they know what to expect, they know what this team's looking for out of them. They're very very supportive and good in that system. I really think what this can come down to is if quarterback Preston Stone, if he can get this thing going and keep this thing going and compete at a high level every single week for this team, they will be a problem for this ACC. I have no doubts in that. I also wouldn't be surprised if the wheels fell off because they're going to get punched in the mouth every week. They're not just going to go in there and out-talent and out-muscle these teams like they're used to in the AAC.
Number 34, Louisville. They got a new quarterback coming in from Texas Tech. How good is this guy? I mean, Tyler Show, I believe is his name. I may be mispronouncing that, but tell us what does he play like? How did he fit at Texas Tech? And then what does Louisville really look like moving forward this year?
Yeah, Tyler Shuck, I think is kind of how you pronounce that. It is a tough last name. But I think it's Tyler Shuck, and he transfers in, yes, from Texas Tech. I think what it really boils down to here is keeping him healthy. He wasn't always the healthiest at Texas Tech, was pretty banged up off and on. Let's not forget he was a 4-star out of high school a couple years ago, so he is a blue-chip prospect. Jeff Brom, at this coaching position, can make anybody good. He can make anything work. Jeff Brom's a great coach. He had a lot of success at Purdue before coming here. He's in year 2 this season, 110 games last year in his first season there. The wheels did kind of fall off at the end of last season. Let's look to focus and hold this thing together for a full season. They have first-team All-American defensive lineman Ashton Gelotti. They are returning 13 starters. This offense is a pretty veteran transfer offense-heavy team for the most part. So if they can just put it all together, they'll be there. If they don't put it all together, I don't know where it takes them, but I do believe in Jeff Brom, and that for me is why I have them at this spot, mainly because of him, to be honest with you.
Okay, I mean, kind of banking off of head coaches being that important. The next team we got is number 33, Arizona. Big, switch up there at Arizona. Jedd Fisch off to Washington State, but they do keep McMillan and Fifita, which, for a while there was a lot of rumors about all this money being offered to them. Like, it kind of sounded like they were probably going to hop on that, but they hung around. They stuck together. They have since high school. So what does Arizona look like? I mean, I feel like there is some promise, but it didn't, at the head coach position, how good are you going to be there?
Yeah, Brent Brennan comes in from San Jose State. He spent over 5 seasons there. Not the most successful, but a pretty consistent, competitive. They did their jobs. He really did rally the troops around him a little bit. I was kind of shocked a little bit, I think, by this hire, but I can kind of see how staying out there on the West Coast, I kind of see how this shoe does fit a little bit with Jedd Fisch getting off to Washington. Big loss there. Jedd Fisch was a great coach, but what you did allude to here is Tetairoa McMillan and Noah Fifita, and that's all you really need to know here. They were high school teammates. I don't know if a lot of you know that, but being high school teammates coming in, keeping that fluidity, keeping that team together, that's a heck of a duo. Tetairoa McMillan is also first-team All-American at the receiver position. So, yeah, look for them to be a hell of a duo in this Big 12 conference where I do think the Big 12 can be wide open. I think Arizona will make some noise, but I also wouldn't be surprised if I woke up in Arizona, was hanging around 7-5, 8-4. That also wouldn't surprise me. Maybe even down to the 6-6 range, depending on health. Obviously, you can't predict health, so that's why I have them at 33. I do think they are a very talented team, and they'll get most teams on neutral fields for sure.
All right. Next one we got is number 32. It's one of these teams that, like, every year you just feel like they should have done a little bit better. They're not bad, but they just play. They tend to play some tough schedules. South Carolina. Tell us a little bit about South Carolina. Why is it that they can't seem to, like, really have that year? Like, they just cannot seem to hit that moment when they're doing great. And I mean, they have a great fan base. I mean, I feel like it's a decent football program. Why cannot they not, like, produce like people kind of expect them to?
Yeah, to your point, South Carolina, they were 5-7 last year. I do believe some of you probably raised your eyebrows here. Well, let's not forget, like I've alluded to, this is all things equal on neutral fields. South Carolina gets mauled by their schedule year after year. Having to play a team like Clemson every year and you're non-conference because that's your rival, that's a terrible non-conference game for a team like South Carolina who gets beat up by the SEC already. Talent-wise, they match up with these mid-tier Power Four schools. But it's Shane Beamer's. Okay, is leash starting to get a little short here? To your point, yeah, I think Shane Beamer's leash could start to get a little short here. You know that they're not producing at that level. They do have a hardcore fan base. These fans really want to see this team win. And right now, to your point, they're not doing that. They're struggling to make bowl games. So I don't think they're going to put up with mediocrity much longer because I do think they should get more out of this talented roster. I do agree with you. Yes, there are some questions, but that's across the board for the most part, unless you're a top 10 team. I mean, even top 10 teams have questions. So let's be realistic here. They're a pretty talented roster, and they're going to get a lot of these teams. I just think that schedule really gets the best of them. You know, they have a guy like Debo Williams manning that defense in the middle. That's a good thing for them. He's a stud. Rocket Sanders comes in from Arkansas at running back. He can really carry that team to places just by himself. I think the biggest question for me is Lenora Sellers at that quarterback position. He does have a similar play style to the dual threat quarterback Robbie Ashford, who transferred in from Auburn. So I do look to see Lenora Sellers use his legs a little bit, as long as that O line can hold him upright, because Spencer Rattler took a beating last year behind this offensive line. So they got to get that offensive line right, and then things will really click for this team, I think.
Okay, so kind of going back to, transfers, moving across college football, the next team gets impacted very heavily. At number 31, we got Wisconsin. So they got quarterback Tyler Van Dyke coming over from Miami. So, a lot of people say like this, he solely the success of Wisconsin depends on Tyler Van Dyke pretty much directly. So tell us why Tyler Van Dyke is so important to Wisconsin, and do you think he's going to be successful there?
Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke is a guy that has plenty of talent. You just got to hold it all together, put it all together. He struggled doing that week in, week out at Miami. This is a pretty big get for Wisconsin, I think. He was in that quarterback a little bit longer than I expected him to be. He was named starting quarterback this week, so that is huge for him. Get that confidence up. Let's not forget Luke Fickell's over here at coach. He's had a couple of seasons here behind him. He had a ton of success at Cincinnati at the G5 level, took them to a playoff. That's huge for them. He clearly is a great coach. I mean, he clearly knows the X's and O's. He clearly knows what he's doing. I do think part of the problem last year was they had a mid-tier defense. They do have some experience on that side of the ball, so I do expect some improvements. But let's get back to Tyler Van Dyke here. If Tyler Van Dyke can stay healthy, if Tyler Van Dyke can take care of the football, if Tyler Van Dyke can play confident, if he can just go out there, let it all hang loose, realize what he has to do, relax, take a deep breath, and push the ball down the field, take care of it. I do think this Wisconsin team will improve from last season. I just don't know by how much. They do have the talent. Let's not forget they are in the Big Ten. So let's see where this thing takes us. Come on, Tyler Van Dyke.
All right, at number 30, we got Virginia Tech. I'm curious about this one because, Virginia Tech did finish off, barely above 500 last year. So tell me why you got them at 30. I just want to know.
Yeah, Dave, I expect that from a lot of people. I love this team. I absolutely love Virginia Tech. I know you might laugh because I still have them at 30. I'm telling you, at the end of this season, when we update this power ratings list, we're going to do rankings week to week. But we are going to save the ratings for an upgrade at the end of the season. We'll update the list and we'll get it back out to you guys. So I do expect it to be much higher at the end of the season on that list. Kyron Jones. Don't forget that name. You will hear it a lot this season. He's in year 2 after transferring over from Baylor last season. I think he looks to catapult this Hokies offense into serious ACC consideration. Jones can get the defense from the air and on the ground. The guy had 176 rushing yards against Tulane in the bowl game last season, Dave. That's why I think this team's dangerous. He does a good job taking care of the football. 17 touchdowns, 3 picks last year. I do look for major gains, especially through the air. Returning a ton of starts from this team last year. They're 7-6. I think they have the most returning starters in the country. The continuity will be there. This is year 3 of Brent Pry. You do see the programs that are good with the talent. You do see them take a jump with that new head coach. Year 2, year 3, year 4, he starts getting his guys filtered in there. It's time to go, and I do think this team does go.
All right. And then, coming back to a very common theme that we're going to see throughout these ratings is at the head coach position. Next team we got is number 29, Kentucky. Mark Stoops, I feel like he's done well, but at the same time, like they had a 7-6 last season. So like, how good are they going to be this year? Because you love Virginia Tech and you're putting Kentucky above them. So you must really see something coming from Kentucky.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Dave. I'm extremely, extremely, extremely high on Mark Stoops. Good old Mark Stoops, man. Does it get better than Mark Stoops? He took over this Kentucky team. They're in the SEC. It's a gauntlet. And I really think what he provides for this team is very good continuity, very good stability. You know they're going to be there in these games. They may come up on the short side of the stick. Quite often it does feel that way. But they're there, man. They sit there. They'll get in there and they'll bang in the trenches. He does a really, really good job at recruiting at Kentucky. Let's not forget, Kentucky is probably primarily a basketball school. I don't want to piss off the Kentucky football fans, but let's be realistic here. There has been some questions. Could Kentucky possibly move on from Mark Stoops if they don't start getting more success in the win column going? They did just move on from John Calipari, so they're not afraid to move on from old good coaches at that program. I don't want to forget that, Barion Brown, first-team kick returner, preseason All-American. Deion Walker, second-team defensive line, preseason All-American. They have some talent. Brock Vandergrift comes in at quarterback over from Georgia, had to sit behind Heisman hopeful Carson Beck. Brock Vandergrift was a blue-chip prospect, so he didn't want to sit around much longer. He wanted to go start somewhere, show what he had. Dane Key and Barion Brown could give some defenses some real trouble in the secondaries if Brock Vandergrift can get them the football. They should be returning around 9 starters on defense. This pass rush really could get going. Look for them to make a little bit of noise here in the SEC.
All right. Hey, you got me convinced on Kentucky, but one that doesn't take a whole lot of convincing is Iowa State. They're at number 28. Some might say they're a 20-up team because they always seem to give even the biggest team a fight. And when I say fight, I mean they never get to roll over. I mean, they are always there, competitive. They didn't have the greatest season last year, but again, they're playing good teams. Their quarterback's coming back. How good is Iowa State going to be at number 28?
Yeah, you talk about the quarterback coming back, Rocco Beck returning at quarterback. That's a good feeling for Matt Campbell. Let's not forget about Matt Campbell. He's a reliable coach, been there since 2016. I do feel like he maximizes talent, gets a lot out of his players. This should be a very talented 7-6 team from last year. They are returning like 18 starters on this team. That's a recipe for success. A team that they can rely on each other to do their jobs, play as a unit. I really do think they get this thing going. I do project them to be quite a bit better than 7-6 from last season. Like I said, man, don't ever count Matt Campbell out. He's gonna get the absolute most out of his guys, and he's gonna push this team this season.
All right, and then continuing this trend we got of at the coaching position, like how important that is. The next team we have is Kansas, sitting at number 27. They had a pretty good season last year, but they just lost their offensive coordinator. How big of a blow is that for a program like Kansas that was really, they were stepping up, they were moving up, and kind of being a real threat for everybody.
Yeah, you talk about coaches being an important role in this, and that's absolutely one of the most important things when I think it comes to ratings, because like we said, it's all things equal. But the couple of things that aren't equal is the talent and the coaching staff. And Lance Leipold at the Kansas Jayhawks has completely transformed this program into a competitive Big 12 program that was absolutely a dumpster fire for the longest time. I mean, there's no other way to put it other than that. You did talk about losing a coach. They did lose offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki. Andy Kotelnicki is one of the best in the business. Genius mind on that offensive side of the ball. He did run off to Penn State. So I do kind of wonder how they're going to respond to that a little bit. I know they have Devin Neal at running back. He's a real threat for these defenses. Look for him to be in the conversation of the Doak Walker convo. Let's not forget Jalen Daniels. Man, if Jalen Daniels can just stay healthy. How many times have we said that? Over and over and over have we said if Jalen Daniels can stay healthy. If he goes down like he's had a history of doing, I don't know what to expect from this team because they don't have Jason Bean there sitting at QB2 to back him up and bail them out and let them compete in games that maybe they wouldn't compete in with the average QB2. So if Jalen Daniels stays healthy, he stays on his feet, keep him upright, pair him with Devin Neal, they could make some noise. Health depends. It all hinges on that.
All right, the next team I'm excited to talk about is number 26, NC State, my hometown team. So, I mean, not because, they're my hometown team, but they got a lot of good things going for them. Dave Dorn, head coach. You get Grayson McCall in from Coastal Carolina. Kevin Concepcion, great. I mean, you pair that up with Grayson McCall, that might be kind of dangerous. So talk to me, NC State. Are they as good as I think they are? And what does that look like for NC State fans?
Settle down, Homer. I got them at 26 for a reason. Pump the brakes. I do think they're a great team. All joking aside, they are a great team. And Dave Dorn's one of the best in the business. I love this guy. If you let me build a team, Dave Dorn would be in the conversation for my head coach to build that team around. He's as reliable as it gets. Any team coached by him, always aware, always smart, always where they need to be on defense, especially. That team will be on anybody's radar. They're no easy opponent as long as that guy's in command. To your point, they did bring in Grayson McCall. That's huge. Can Grayson McCall stay healthy? Got a little banged up last year. I do think he can push that offense in the right direction, give them a step forward. They were a top 30 defense last year. I do think they build off of that. You did talk about Kevin Concepcion. That guy's a problem. That guy is a problem for anybody. Look for his name on the Biletnikoff conversation at the end. Got a gnat in my face here. They may not be a fan of NC State, Dave, just to let you know. But I do think, all joking aside, like I said, Kevin Concepcion will be in the Biletnikoff Award. What do you think? What do you think they do, Dave? This is your team. Why don't you tell me what you think they do?
I mean, kind of, going off of our notes, I think 10-2 is a very reasonable finish. And to be honest, for NC State, a 10-2 season it's a great season. I mean, NC State fans, they're just passionate. They just love the team, the university. So
yeah, I know they have a passionate fan base for sure, and that is powerful. They do sell that stadium out. They do pack it in. That does come into play. I do think they'll win some games. Spoiler alert, yes, we do have them going 10-2, and like I said, I do think the fan base comes into play here.
All right. Next, we got a team that, realistically should be wanting to be in the top 10 conversation. We got USC at number 25. Lincoln Riley came over from Oklahoma. Was supposed to be amazing. I mean, you remember the size of the contract they gave him? I think it had like a jet and everything included. I mean, this was ridiculous. This guy was supposed to change college football. And, USC is not sitting at where they want to be. They just can't seem to figure it out. Tell me a little bit more about that.
A jet. I love it. I love it. That's what you take away from his contract. Hell, I think they might have bought him a house too. I'm with you, man. I'm over this Lincoln Riley experience. I do think he's a great coach. Obviously, he gets the absolute most out of his quarterbacks. He's got a couple Heisman Trophy winners underneath him, so let's not push that to the side. But, man, you tell me you got Heisman winners on your teams underneath you as the head coach, and you're still not winning that many ball games. You're still not winning national championships. You're still not pushing the Final Four. Yeah, he has to get USC going, man. I really did think he'd have them going quicker than this. This is not where they want to be yet. I'm not trying to completely shit all over Lincoln Riley here. I do think he is a good coach, like I said, especially on the offensive side. His defenses are a absolute problem. That is where the problem lies. He scores points, but he can't score enough points. That defense this year is anchored by Bear Alexander. He was there last year. He came in from Georgia. Holding on to him again this season was big for that defense. He anchors it for sure. I did think he was going to run off and leave USC, but they did hold on to him, and that's impressive. They do have one preseason All-American in Zachariah Branch at punt returner. I do think he will be a serious threat at wide receiver. Miller Moss at quarterback. Last episode, I talked about how he threw 5 touchdown passes in that bowl game. I stand corrected. It was 6. He will make some noise. He can push the ball down the field. He can get the ball to these receivers. Dave, I'm really anxious to see what this defense looks like. They did bring in a new defensive coordinator. So show me something, Lincoln Riley. Prove it. Show me something. Win some ball games. I want to see you do good. So let's get it going.
All right. Well, that kind of rounds off today's episode. Next episode, be on the lookout for it. It should be out shortly after this one. We're still, again, we're just average guys doing this on our free time. So, it may take us a little bit to really get a schedule figured out, but our goal is to get you content as quickly as we can. So be on the lookout for episode number 2, where we're going to hit another couple teams, and we're going to talk about why they're sitting where they're sitting. And then we'll move on, do a couple more. And then, you guys will get our top 38. And then you guys can do with that what you will if you want to bet on it. hey, if you make some money, just let us know. Let us know we got you on the right track. But other than that, this will be all for us tonight. And then be on the lookout for our next episode.
Yeah, once again, I just want to appreciate all the fans we have that do come out, support us. We're trying to get it growing here. We want to give you guys the absolute best content that we can. We do appreciate you all no matter what, no matter how you show the support. Just like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. I'm going to have the comments turned on this go around. Like I said before, we're not quite good at this yet. So I had child's mode on or kids mode, whatever YouTube called it, so the comments were turned off. I'm sure this first part of our top 38 will raise plenty of questions, plenty of comments. So we're going to have the comments on. Fire at us. Tell us you hate us. Tell us you love us. Tell us you're with us. We appreciate y'all, and we'll be in touch soon. Look for episode 2 coming out after this.